Welcome to the Drawing Desk. I'm Cher Kaufmann. By now I've heard from many of you that have several of my smaller coloring books, and so I thought I would do a series to kind of guide you through maybe some ideas that are a little out of the box on how to work with small book ideas. We're used to working with the bigger books or a larger size, something that is like a full page, but you have to do something a little different when you're working with smaller spaces, and that can actually be a little bit looser and a little bit more creative, or sometimes it can allow you to create detail and focus. So I'm going to do a small series of videos that are based on small book ideas. So join me. I'm going to pull Dream. You'll see I've got some little tabs here of different pages of ideas and pages that I'm working on, but I do want to show you before anything, the very first page when you're opening a new book always has these empty spaces. And what I've looked at with these books is they really are pages of potential. They really are sort of an open space for you to doodle or draw or color or sign your name or practice something. It's a page where you can take different colors and you can scribble the different colors so that you can see what it looks like on your page. But for me, what I decided to do was use it as a place to do creative doodling outside of my coloring palette. So here's an example of doing Dream just on that title page where I have all this other words, but it also gives me something to kind of work around. So I thought, just for an idea, just to get you going, let's just try doodling on an empty page before we get into the coloring pages. What would that look like? What would it feel like? So for me, I like to work with technical pens when I'm doodling, but this kind of paper and this kind of size, I have found that the technical pens, they absorb into the paper too quickly, and so it really goes through the back. And so you'll notice that on the back here, you can see the impression of the ink moving through the back. And that doesn't really bother me because I'm not really using this back page, but it might bother you if you're deciding to do this on other pages. So what I recommend is to get a piece of cardstock or something that has a slick surface so that you can put it in there as a page protector, and then you can do your doodling, and then it won't matter about if it goes through secondary pages. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in between here because this is the page that I'm going to be working on. The other thing is that because I'm not going to be working with a technical pen, I was wondering what kind of pens might I want to use on just a doodle page on a paper that's about this size and about this thickness. So you can use just a regular ballpoint pen. That is an option. That is going to be less likely to be going through the pages, and it is something that kind of clicks on, clicks off, so that you can take that with you anywhere, and if you lose it, you won't feel like you've lost a special pen. It's just simply a ballpoint pen, and you can find those anywhere. They're very inexpensive. You can use a jelly pen or a jelly roll or a gel pen, and that'll give you different colors that you can work with. However, some gel pens will absorb into the paper and they will go through, which is also another reason why you can put your little cardstock there in the middle to protect. For me, I'm going to use, this is just a Pilot G2 pen. This is a 0.38. It's got a very tiny point. It's actually the pen that I like to use for when I'm signing my books. I like a really fine point. So this is going to be much thinner than you might like. You might like a 0.5, a 0.7, or a 1.0. And so you just kind of find the pen that you like to work with. And that's going to be part of that relationship that I've talked about in other videos, that tool and paper, that connection that way is partly what makes it enjoyable. So let's just begin here. Normally I like to take my pages out of the books, but for this I'm going to leave it attached. This page is perforated. I can rip it out if I want to, but I'm choosing to keep it in just the same as I did with the other one in the back here. So I just want to kind of get something going. So I'm going to do something really big, and I'm going to begin to just maybe create some leaves. And I really don't have a plan. You're really just seeing things kind of move into the space as we speak, but I am keeping in mind the title of the book. So I know I want something maybe a little bit more whimsical or a little light. And I probably won't finish this whole picture with you today, just because I like to take my time and come back to an image over a couple of days. Sometimes when I come back the day after, I feel a little different. I want to add a little something different. One thing to consider is don't be afraid of coloring things in. Sometimes when you add darker areas or blacker spaces, it actually gives your eye something to rest on. So using your pen to color in some of your colored spaces or some of your designed spaces can actually be a benefit to sort of a calming action of the design that you're creating. So I hope that gives you some ideas how you can just turn an open space into something a little creative as an introduction to what you're about to do later on in your book. So you can do very, very tiny designs, or you can leave it much more open and you can fill in more later. I hope you enjoy this. We'll see you next time.